Hey there, it's Allison from onlineteacherallison.com. And I thought I would I'm getting a lot of questions. So I thought I would fill you in on kind of our pregnancy journey and our trying to conceive journey because it was not easy. And just kind of fill you in on all of that. If you are here for online teaching, don't worry, I'm not going anywhere with that. This week's just a little bit different, okay? All right, so to start this story, I'm going to take you all the way back to 2018. My son was born in 2018. We had no trouble conceiving him. Yes, he was planned. No, there was no trouble. That's all you really need to know. And that delivery was god awful and traumatic for like everybody. Okay. So come about 2020, my husband was ready to try for number 2 and I was not. I was dealing with what I have self-diagnosed myself as with some postpartum anxiety. I'm pretty sure anxiety that's undiagnosed. But postpartum made it really bad. And it wasn't until about the beginning of 2020 that I started feeling better. And then COVID hit. And a major source of my anxiety is illness, whether it's mine or my son's. And so COVID hit and it just kind of sent me spiraling backwards. And so in 2020, when he was ready to try, I was not. So I told him, you know what, let's give me a year. Like, let me feel better. I had just started teaching online and I was really trying to get that business going. And so I asked for a year. So a year comes and I'm ready, but he is going overseas for his job for 6 months. So we did give it a shot for a few months before he left. We were trying to plan it. So like when he got home, there wouldn't be a lot of time, but it just didn't happen. So when he got home, we started trying again and I got pregnant. It took about 6 months. So it took like 3 months for my son. It took about 6 months for the second pregnancy. This was in 2021, I guess. Yeah, I think so. Or 2022. Anyways, it took about 6 months. We were really excited. Nothing had changed. So my husband had gone out of town to a guy's trip that had been planned for months. And so I went down to my mom's house. At this point, I was about 6 weeks pregnant. I took my son, I took my dogs. We went to my mom's house for a long weekend. It's about 2.5 hour car drive. Like the most extraneous, is that a word? The hardest thing I did was pack our bags and load them. And they were like weekend bags. So it's not like they were 50 pounds, right? So when I got to my mom's house, I noticed a little bit of spotting, if it can even be counted. It was like 3 dots and that was it. And so I tried not to freak out. I was like, okay, you know what? Maybe something rubbed somewhere. Like I'm just talking myself out of things, right? And the whole weekend I was there, I spotted for days. And then one day it just hit me. Like the cramps kicked in first. Cramping like it was the start of my cycle. And then a few hours later, but it was no longer spotting. It was the doors had opened. And I had been keeping my husband updated, but he's in another state. And phone service was not great. He was camping and he was out for like a NASCAR race. He was at the Indy 500. So he was camping with the guys at the Indy 500. I felt so bad ruining his weekend. And he didn't even really understand what had happened until he got home a few days later. I hadn't had my first OBGYN appointment yet. It was scheduled. It hadn't made it there yet. And so by the time he got home, the worst of it was over. The worst of it happened overnight. I remember the pain woke me up. I remember like trying to be in a fetal position because I didn't really want to take any medication just in case because I'm psycho. And my son woke up. It was like 2 or 3 a.m. He wanted water. And at this point, he still needed us to help him go to sleep. So I remember just being in the fetal position on the floor in my old bedroom at my parents' house, waiting for him to fall back asleep and just being completely miserable because it was like the worst of it. And the next day I had plans to meet up with a friend. We were going to Chewy's. We went there all the time in college. She was my maid of honor. We catch up when we can. And I still went to Chewy's I told her what happened because she's like, you can cancel on me. And I was like, I know, but I needed to not think about it. Right. So the way we all deal with trauma is so different. And for me at that time, after obsessing over it for days, is it going to happen? And then finally it happening, I just needed the chips and salsa at Chewy's. So my husband gets home. We're at Walgreens because guess what? My son is sick. I think he had another ear infection. And I kind of mentioned it in a joke. And that was not the way to do it. I didn't do it on purpose to be hurtful or anything. Sorry, my dog is shaking everything. I just thought we were on the same page and we were not. So my husband is now coping where I was coping like 3 or 4 days ago. So we get to my OB appointment and I had said, pretty sure I had a miscarriage, and they ran the scans, they ran a blood test for my hormone levels, and sure enough, complete miscarriage. So I didn't need a DNC or anything. So we go home, we take a few months off, and we decide to start trying again. Well, it's been a year, and I'm not pregnant. We're not pregnant. A year of ovulation tracking, a year of prenatals, a year of, I don't do the basal body. I don't do basal temping. Just a year of like trying to eat right. So after the miscarriage, I spent the year like trying to regulate my hormones. I felt like those were kind of wonky for a while. Okay, go lay down. I felt like those were kind of wonky for a while because my cycle had become more pretty kind of irregular. Like give or take a day or two, and usually I'm pretty regular. So one thing my friend had suggested was to drink that AG1 green drink, and I did not like it. So I bought and made it through one package, and it's also expensive, and I just didn't redo it. I was eating healthier. I was on, those trying to conceive boards, like figuring out what vitamins I can take. So I had added vitamin D because I've been tested deficient in that before. I added vitamin C. At one point, I tried the Mucinex method. These dogs, I'm sorry. And nothing is happening. So we get to a year, and I get a referral to the OBGYN because my old one had expired. And they started running like preliminary fertility testing on me. So they tested my ovulation. I went for a couple of blood draws to check to make sure I was ovulating, which all was good. They did an internal ultrasound I think they were checking for cysts and make sure everything was fine there and all was good. My husband had an appointment with your urologist because they were going to analyze his contribution. So he gets to the urologist and they do not analyze. They just kind of check the externals, and they referred him to the fertility clinic here. So on my end, so far, everything is good. I even went so far as I got an HSG procedure. Don't ask me to pronounce it because it's a hyster or something. Essentially, what it is you go to the hospital, you get checked in, they inserted like a catheter type thing into my cervix. Yeah, lots of fun. And through the catheter type thingy, they inserted dye. And the point was to make sure my tubes were open and flowing, because if the tubes are not open and flowing, there's no way for sperm to meet egg. That was painful. 0 out of 10, don't recommend. But on the pain scale, right? On the plus side of the HSG procedure is that it increases your fertility chances. I think they said 30 to 40% for 3 to 4 months. And with that procedure, it's kind of a pain because you can't be on your period, but you can't be so close to ovulation that it'll flush out an egg. So you only have a couple of days to do it. Your window is really small. And it also makes you bleed again. So I got the procedure. Everything was good. My husband has been to the urologist. He is getting ready to schedule his appointment. And so now at this point, we are referred to a reproductive endocrinologist. Fun fact, I live in the Oklahoma City area, right? Tons of places to go. On our insurance, there is one reproductive endocrinologist in the area. The next closest, Dallas-Fort Worth area. So the wait list for this reproductive endocrinologist is 6 months. So it is still not time for my reproductive endocrinologist appointment. That is next month. So the good news is about 2-ish weeks after that HSG procedure, I had a positive pregnancy test. I remember, so one thing about me is when I'm trying to get pregnant, I obsess in the sense that I cannot wait until I miss my period to take a pregnancy test. I'm taking one like 5 days before I've missed it. And so this particular morning, I woke up. It was probably like 6 in the morning. I had to go to the bathroom. I didn't want to go to the bathroom and then go back to bed because you're supposed to use the first morning urine, especially that early because the hormone is most concentrated once you've had like that long of a hold, like overnight. And so you know what? I'll just take a pregnancy test, get it over with. There's a line. I'll see if I can find a picture and add it. So I remember I'm standing in the bathroom. I buy these cheapy tests. They're the Easy at Home brand. I get them on Amazon. They're decently cheap compared to like the like Clear Blue or the first response ones. You get a lot more for your money that way. I'm as obsessive as I am. You need cheap. So I remember sending a picture to my friend, and then I remember like running out. Well, first I didn't have my phone in the bathroom with me, so I ran out. I grabbed off the charger, and at this point, my husband, he's waking up. He's like, "Are you okay? What the heck is going on?" And I go, "No." And then I'm like, "Well, in your question, yes, but no, I don't think so." So I sent a picture to my friend, and like, "Oh my God, do you see the little line that I see? Tell me you haven't tried. You wouldn't do it, right?" And then I come back to bed, and my husband's like, "What is going on?" And I remember laying down and being like, "I think I'm pregnant. It could be just a really faint line, or I could be seeing things, but I think I'm pregnant." He's like, "Oh, okay, cool." And he rolled over and went back to bed like the jerk. So we talked about it when he woke up. One thing about him is when he's asleep, he's pretty asleep. So sure enough, there's a faint line. So every day after I get that faint line, what am I doing? Taking more pregnancy tests because I want to see that line progress. And I think I did that for 4 or 5 weeks. I took a test every day on this cheapo test for like 4 or 5 weeks because at this point, I know I'm pregnant because 1, that line is not light anymore. And 2, I took a digital test. I always have like a digital test on hand because I wanted to say pregnant. So I'm watching this line get darker and darker. I've gotten my blood draw at about 4 weeks to confirm I'm pregnant, to get another referral to the OBGYN. TRICARE. And it kept getting darker and darker. So week 6 comes around and I am paranoid because that's when I miscarried the first time. And so my doctor, thank God he was understanding. He sent me for like a progesterone and what was it? An HCG, whatever, the pregnancy hormone blood draw. And then when the results came back fine, he even called me to talk me off a ledge that I was barely on because he was saying like, yes, it might be on the low end of this, but this is where we expect to see you. Like, and he even told me that they're not very telling for like miscarriages because you can't predict them, right? And that's what sucks. So week 6 comes around, we're good. And then lo and behold, what happens? About week 8, I started spotting. I'm freaking out again. I'm calling my doctor. My appointment was at like week, I want to say 9, maybe 10. It was kind of late. And so I'm a negative blood type. And if you're not a negative blood type, you probably don't know that you need that RH, the RhoGAM shot. What I didn't know is that you need it for any sort of breakthrough bleeding anytime you are pregnant. So because I had breakthrough spotting, which he called implantation bleeding, 8 weeks pregnant, that was off and on for about a month. I always thought implantation bleeding, happened at implantation, but apparently it happens later too. So Fun fact. Um, I had to get the RH shot, and it's in the butt. So that was fun. Because I had breakthrough bleeding, it protects you for, I think, he said 12 weeks for like a trimester. Anyways, every appointment since then, he has asked, any more bleeding? Any more bleeding? Any more bleeding? I'm like, no, we're good. I appreciate it though. Like, so that was really scary. I thought I was going to lose another one. It was going to be bigger. And then like it got to the point, someone was in my yard and they stopped, but they're walking a dog, where I had done a gender blood draw. So I was pretty sure I knew the gender. I wanted to do like a small reveal with family. I know people hate reveals, but we just did like the baseball. And I was struggling with it because I was telling my husband, like, this is going to require me to get excited about something I'm worried about. This is going to require me to get more connected to something I'm worried about losing. And so thankfully, I think the last bit of spotting I had happened the week before the gender reveal. I haven't had anything since. So thank goodness. So I am now 20 weeks pregnant. I had my anatomy scan last week, the end of last week. And I don't see my doctor about it until tomorrow. It'll be after this is before this is posted, obviously. So hopefully everything's all good. The only thing she saw that she told me is I might have partial placental previa, which I had it with my son. It's basically where the placenta is over the cervix. So if I decided to try for a VBAC, because my son was born via C-section, that would have to, someone's getting an Amazon package, move out of the way, because obviously the placenta is blocking. So like if this is the exit, that's going to be, huge. If the placenta is blocking it, it's really dangerous for everybody. So I'm getting an Amazon package. That's me. So if it is, so when the ultrasound tech was looking, it was either like, this is the exit, the placenta was either right next to it or just overlapping a little bit. So with my son, it cleared up. That's not why he was born via C-section. So I did get an extra ultrasound to check on it. So I guess we'll find out tomorrow if there are any defects. We're going to get the gender confirmed. Well, that was confirmed. And yeah, any defects, the gender was confirmed. And if there's anything we need to worry about, other than the placenta again. Why do my placentas not know what they're doing? So after tomorrow, I'm going to cancel my January appointment at the fertility clinic because, again, I've been so freaked out about losing it. So I don't think we have secondary infertility. I don't think we have any sort of infertility. I don't know what caused it. Stress, maybe. Maybe there was some blockage in my tubes that was cleared out with the HSG. HSG? Yeah, the HSG procedure, the dye procedure. Maybe what I read today was there could be issues, probably not, because I made it this far, but there could be issues if you've had a C-section. It could cause secondary infertility because the incisions, plural, don't heal up right. So it causes an unsafe environment for the baby. So if I had not been pregnant, I'd probably be thinking about that. And you have to go in and have another operation to like fix it. And I didn't go any further because I was just reading about it today, scrolling through stuff, and thought it was interesting that I'd never heard that before. So yeah, that's where we're at. 20 weeks pregnant. Everything's good. And yeah, I will fill you in again, probably at the end of this month. And yeah, we'll keep in touch. Hope you're having the greatest week ever, and we'll chat soon. Bye.